The Lord is good, and his mercies shall always endure. Good morning to the morning update on TVXYZ, proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water and, of course, Black Secret Makeup. If you're looking to look natural, then there's nowhere else to go than Black Secret Makeup. We have been discussing, actually on Friday, right after the show, we found out that Ekwapim Polo has been sentenced to 90 days in prison for the pictures he posted celebrating her son's 7th birthday. A lot of controversies have been surrounding it. A lot of people are still ongoing about free Ekwapim Polo. And so apparently there's an appeal that is going to come up soon and will be talked about. Also, the first doses of AstraZeneca had been given out, and we were expecting a lot of anticipation was surrounding when the second dose was going to come. But after a while, when there was no news going, then people started losing their anticipation. However, this weekend, the Director General for the Ghana Health Service have come out to say that we should expect it in the next 4 weeks. We will talk more about this in the social segments, but do not forget, my name is Nana Abnasawa, and of course, I'm here this morning with Eric Anyanyo. Eric, good morning.
Abna, good morning.
How are you?
Very fine.
You look nice.
Thank you.
You actually do look good in, I was going to say the word, but I've changed my mind. You look good in these colors, actually. Yes.
I wanted to wear red.
And what happened?
You know, some number 9 people like that. I want to write this in a book. And I wonder how the people will react. Well, where people are known as number 9.
But I think it's common knowledge.
I have to look for the author and tell him that he should have added.
He should have added
number 9. But this Ekwapim Polo business, I think I've been reading a lot of comments, and it is speaking to our conscience.
Yes.
And one of them I put here says, do the children in communities being devastated by reckless galamsey have the right to clean, healthy, and safe environment? Several people have been asking rhetorical questions.
Yeah.
The rich and connected don't go to jail in Ghana, even if they take another man's life. But be extremely careful in all what you do. This is what Rex Omar put on his Facebook page. It looks like people are protesting. Yes. They're not really saying that the lady didn't do something wrong. They are suggesting that there's a lot of hypocrisy in our system. And all of a sudden, one group of Ghanaians who are crying and the same people complaining. I've monitored conversations by some lawyers suggesting that nobody should direct the anger at the judge. In fact, somebody put a post which I thought is threatening. It says, meet the great Bright Appiah of Child's Rights International for his role in getting Ekwapim Polo behind bars. He is the complainant against Ekwapim Polo. He's happier seeing the little without her mother for the next 90 days. Agencies like this should not be interested in reprimanding people who have shown enough remorse and ready to run a new leaf. I think it is not fair to him. What he did is right, and he should stand by it. I support him because we must cleanse the system. And anybody who is emotionally influenced by the ruling should not be putting this useless post on social media. Again,
Eric,
there's one other angle I believe that we need to also look at. This angle has to do with how all of us collectively join the campaign to fight for things that have been left to follow, people who must act on certain laws we have in our system, but are failing to apply them to the letter.
Right.
If these people are being paid by the state, and the state thinks that what happened has generated a whole conversation, we should look at that. You wanted to come in, but I'm waiting for you.
This whole thing is... So yesterday, actually, I was listening to a panelist, actually, and he did say something which resonated with me, because he said that what Ekwapim Polo did, there's been lots of times where we see artworks, we see a lot of arts in public where you see a naked African woman with her child behind her or in front of her. So she probably was, you know, moving or towing along those lines. And the creative arts have come out with a link. So everybody, if you are interested, you click on the link, you go on there. They are saying, or they are petitioning, that their picture is a creative art, is creative.
So you are condoning with what society has condemned.
No.
Disagree
Mine
Nobody
is that.
Don't
mine
try.
is that.
See,
no,
the
mine
creative
is that.
arts industry
Going
must
to jail
realize
for that. Going to jail for that is too much. That's all we are saying.
I have a video.
They could have given her community service, or even made her pay a fine.
Listen,
and that would have been okay. But going to prison for that.
You can campaign free equipping. Now it is being directed at the office of the president that he should pardon her, like it happened to Muntie. I don't have any problem. But the moment anybody or group want to rationalize what we saw on TV, that one is wrong. It is some. It's like
on social media.
Listen,
it wasn't on TV.
Of course, haven't you seen it on TV? Subsequently,
because we are putting it on TV.
The question
she didn't put it on TV.
Yes, the person has done something wrong. It must be condemned. Nobody should try to rationalize it.
Agreed. If you want to look at it that way.
When we talked about gays and lesbians and that nonsense, listen very carefully. And I want to be passionate about this. We have allowed our system to be corrupted over the years. Look, the soaps and operas, we see people kissing in the afternoon, hot afternoon, smooching hot afternoon. We are all quiet. A day will come when our children will be raping themselves or be playing those games in their homes, and then we will all turn around and say, when did we start?
Children haven't been doing it
you are
in the
creative arts industry. I should see you as somebody in the creative arts industry actively speaking against things that are corrupting the system and even collapsing your industry. Not what that polo business put on social media. She's copying it from outside. She is copying it and wants to corrupt the system.
It's not just outside. This is why I mentioned that there are. Haven't you seen any?
I am very emotional about this.
I am emotional about it.
Okay, so you rant with your emotions.
Haven't you seen pictures in town? The people who draw, the artists and all that. You see a naked African woman with her child behind her.
So go and catch the drawing. Go and catch the drawing. No.
What I'm saying is, even children. You're talking about.
You are struggling to rationalize it.
I'm not struggling to rationalize. You are not even letting me make my point.
What did I hear? I heard that you are talking about paintings. Go and arrest the paintings.
No.
Arrested the woman.
I always say this all the time. We are used to just putting bandages on wounds and leaving it to rot from grassroots. It's not just about what she came out to do. And you see, it's not even about what she's seeing outside. There are artworks here locally that are being made with naked African women and their children behind them, in front of them. And so that could have influenced her as well. Let's stop always trying to pinpoint or point fingers at people outside. So what she did was because somebody influenced her. And even talking about kisses and all sorts of things on our TVs in the afternoons and all. Do you think that children were not having sex back then before all these things started coming on TV? Even when televisions were black and white, we used to catch children behind people's houses doing things that their parents are doing. So let's solve issues from the grassroots and stop pinpointing or always blaming the outsiders.
What is the issue now?
The issue is that we should take responsibility for our actions and stop saying that the westernization is here. We are doing it here. We are making the mistakes and we should focus on it. Please, let's listen to Bobby Adam.
Hello and welcome to this morning's episode of Pause for 3 Minutes on the morning update on TVXYZ and Wazer TV. This morning, we begin season 6 of your favorite motivational presentation, which is proudly sponsored by FlexiPay, Endless Possibilities, a product of the First Atlantic Bank. My name is Obobia Daakon Opoku. How do you handle challenges? How do you manage your anger when you come under pressure or when you hear bad news? Do you simply crumble or throw your hands up in despair? Do you cry like a baby and refuse to get out of your bed? Or you throw tantrums and insist on having it your way or no other? Or you are the type that will roll up your sleeves, lift your head and face every circumstance with calm, determination and clarity? As we go through the very challenging and yet exciting journey of life, one of the most important elements that should guide us is how to simply keep a cool head, especially in times of anger, provocation, and distress. You know, often when we are confronted with negativity or a problem, our natural response is to become nervous. We get nervous and sometimes we become very aggressive. Yes, it is natural for us to feel disappointed when our plans don't go well, but it becomes more troubling when we allow our emotions about the issue to control our actions, attitudes, and demeanor. When things go the very opposite of your expectations, it is your ability to control your emotions and still stay focused that defines you. And have you noticed that whenever you get anxious or nervous about a particular issue, it usually will go wrong? If it's about money, virtually every window that could bring money narrows. Friends and family members and loved ones who could help will all be unavailable or unable to help. Guess what? Getting angry or anxious has never made issues go away. They make it worse. I have taught myself to do things differently. In the face of anger, I have learned how to slow down my reaction. I pause, take in a deep breath, and count till 10 before I give a response or reply to that text or WhatsApp message. I've learned to control my thoughts in the face of my insecurities and fears. I understand now, more than ever, what it means to analyze the challenges that come my way and how to carefully outline the best possible solutions when my inner voice tells me to react to a situation hastily. I ignore it and keep my cool. My dear friends, this works like magic. So listen up, don't freak out. Patience is a virtue. Thank you for your time. It's exciting as always to come your way and get inspired by the kind courtesy of FlexiPay. Endless possibilities. Enjoy the morning update with Eric and Nanabna.
Indeed, patience is a virtue, and that is why I am very patient with Eric, because he's still yet to wish me a happy birthday.
I am annoying. Eh? I sound annoying.
You're fine.
Belated happy birthday.
Thank you. What stopped you from wishing me a happy birthday on Saturday?
We did last Friday, and I'm sure many people saw my
birthday was Saturday.
They saw my dance moves on Friday. Daily Graphic on its front page. The big story has to do with accidents. It says neglected tragedy, road accidents, real pandemic. And it comes with a picture of, I don't know whether they are party supporters or they are people who are scrambling for vehicle. But we see indiscipline captured in pictures. That yellow van with people hanging around it, and the pickup with so many people in a bucket. So that's how the story came along. And it brings a thorough breakdown of the things we have spoken about severally and what we can do to bring sanity to our roads. Hayford receives graphic at 70 KIA Pegas Prize, 3 more to go. But charter within 4 years, Education Commission to universities. The center spread has a big story. Testing herbal medicine for COVID-19. Several angles have been captured here in this middle page publication of the Daily Graphic. The back page has sports. Faisal Ashgold share points. Kotoko is on the top of the league table. Great Olympics, Mediama, Karela, Hearts of Folk, Bechem United, and the last is Inter Allies. Bechem United dismantle Aduana 4-0. These are the big stories on the front page center spread and the back page. But I've seen two interesting stories on pages 10 and 18. The first one says, traffic monster on Tema Dawenya Highway. I use that stretch often, and the traffic there doesn't make sense. And we have witnessed this for at least 8 or 9 years. And MPs have a lot of meetings around Aqua Safari. So many of them use that stretch. Many of them go to several of the beachfronts. And I know a lot of our politicians have properties along that stretch. So when we are prioritizing the national cake, how we disperse it, does it make sense? If we appreciate that we have the N1 highway, we have the Tema motorway, we have the stretch all the way to Pram Pram Junction through Dawenya, and then you go to Central University and hit the enclave towards the Volta region. What stops us from prioritizing that stretch and pump in money to make it better. At least expand the road a little. I've seen a lot of development around East Legon, just around the road that leads to America House. And I ask myself, that's fine. It's improving the movement of people around that enclave. But is it because many of the people who take decisions live in such enclaves who decide that, okay, this one is of interest to us, but let's leave that stretch, which sees a lot of people commuting all the way from Elubo through that stretch through Togo, because we call it the International ECOWAS Transnational Highway. It's a lot of concern to me, and I believe that a lot of people are speaking to it. And let's see what government will do in the course of the days, either to dualize the road or make concrete steps ahead to develop that stretch. Now, revert to core values, principles of NDC panelists, and they are suggesting that NDC lost the election because they have disregarded core values, probity, accountability on all the semantics, and then the grassroots base. And I've seen a lot of conversation around this, many suggesting that, are those speaking to this suggesting that the NDC, which claims it won the 2020 elections, was actually lying, or they just want to follow or copy borrowed terms from the late former president, and anytime there's a platform, probity, accountability, grassroots, etc., structures, and so on. We'll discuss this today on the morning show, Abena.
Right. I'll start with the Ghanaian Times. On the front page, it says that billboards, posters still litter Accra. Assemblies begin to clean up. Also, Parliamentary Select Committee pushes for more government, private sector investment in waste management. Ghana to receive more vaccines next month for the second shots, which is something that we will be talking about today on the social segment. Also, eTransact secures enhanced PSP licenses for BOG. This will allow for the processing of EMV Ghana Link prepaid card. Now, on the back page is sports. Dream Karela game rained off. Now, Medima in, please, what is the word?
Pyrrhic
victory. As Justice Blake crashes. Oh, Midiama. This is why you run away from sports.
I don't like it at all. Abuaje's game. You have the business and financial.
Yes, I do. You want me to do that? I have the Inquisitor. There's an interesting story.
So finish them.
Okay. So on the first page of the Business and Financial Times says that foreign banks' profits exceed local banks by 185% in the pandemic year, which is quite interesting. Also, demystify economic reports to benefit people in the community. eTransact, as I stated earlier, secures enhanced PSP. Now, also, local financial institutions assist government to successfully execute 2021 Eurobond transaction. On the back page, it says BNFT appoints new business development manager, also fix ECG NetCo inefficiencies to forestall recurring IPP's debts. Now, an interesting story here on the Inquisitor says that Passion Air in messy flight, how Accra Kumasi passengers ended up in Cote d'Ivoire. Now, they are blaming it on weather, but the passengers refuse to accept that. Also, Francisca Oting-Mensah lands at Stratton. Now, KGL contract will help NLA financially.
Okay, so quick ones before Wisdom joins us. Front page, the Herald newspaper. Teachers told to register for licenses or be disqualified. Akufo-Addo's family and friends scheming to buy Airtel Tigo cheaply after government takeover. Sam George to summon Esla before Parliament, and Arthur Kennedy predicts 2024 as difficult election year for the NPP. Front page, Chronicle newspaper, mandatory road toll levy dead and gone. NLA disputes 11-year contract with KGL Technology. And we have 2.7 billion investment inflows yield results. Estimated 22,000 jobs up for grabs. All these are on the front pages of the Chronicle newspaper, and then we do the Herald newspaper. That's how it appeared. So that's all we have for you by way of the headlines or the headline stories.
Yes.
I want to say good morning to a friend of mine. I was with them yesterday. His wife came around. She's called Pat. And Pat said, hey, yeah, you home with TV, so I am on KB Mind. She says, this is a woman who is a trader at Makola. Her child is doing national service, about getting ready to finish. And her please, Dr. and I could see a typical mother who has tried selling from tabletop at Makola, helping a child to finish university, and the child is doing national service and is still thinking of where to place the child permanently for life. And this is the beauty of a mother, thinking about the woman on daily basis.
What exactly does she sell?
I didn't ask.
Right.
I didn't ask.
Because I think that we have to create the opportunities. You and I will agree that there's no job anywhere at this point in time. So whatever she's selling
that child can also help the mother to
it can be rebranded.
The
use social media to that. Now you don't even need television stations all the time to reach certain audience. So the daughter can rebrand whatever the mother is selling and sell as well. We don't always have to come back from school and expect to sit in air condition to work.
You are Obuobia Ampa.
All right, so we'll take our news after the short break.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
It's 7 o'clock, and as always, Wisdom Heather Jome is here to give us details of some of the headlines we've discussed. Good morning, Wisdom.
Good morning.
Take
happy
us away.
Belated birthday in advance. Somebody said it.
Yeah,
I arrived. It says happy belated birthday in advance. I was like, how does that happen? Yeah, how are you?
All right, I'm
Hope
good.
the birthday was good.
Yeah,
the
fine.
weekend was awesome.
Please do not put me on the spot.
Okay.
What do you have for us?
Well, I have lots coming up this morning, and fresh directive to teachers to register for license before May 7 or risk consequences, including possible dismissal. Also, coalition of La associations fight government and the military over stolen land, demand a bipartisan investigations into brute force applied to chase demonstrators out. Also, in this edition, NDC risk losing 2024 elections if it fails to learn from better lessons in the 2020 elections and activate the KDS front. Frank talks ongoing. The party's reorganization will give you details of that. And then there's tension looming at Kweu Nkwatia over threat to forcibly eject a disputed chief. Please stay for details of these and other stories. My name is Wisdom Heather Jome, and many thanks for your company this morning. Let's begin the story from the Ghana Health Service, who has announced that those who expected to take their second dose of the COVID-19 vaccines would have to wait for 4 weeks. Now, Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje, who addressed a news conference yesterday, says the decision is to allow more people to get ready for the second dose deployment and ease of deployment. Explaining the change in policy, Dr. Patrick Kumabwadi said data from the World Health Organization indicated that the best period for the booster dose was between 8 to 12 weeks, and we shall delve more into this development later on the show. Now, teachers who completed their course before 31st of August 2018 to register for their license within the next 3 weeks or lose their jobs. Now, a directive by the National Teaching Council to the Director General of the Ghana Education Service said May 7 is a deadline and there shall be no compromises. Now, 2 years ago, teacher unions kicked against the policy, and it's not clear yet if their concerns have been addressed.
According to the letter, those who fail to avail themselves shall lose their right to practice as teachers in Ghana in accordance with Section 64(1) of the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020 Act 1023. The category of teachers bound by the notice are to register online to qualify for the license to be issued by the National Teaching Council. Failure to comply means automatic disqualification. The circular, signed by Registrar of the Council, Christian Adey Poku, and copied to the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, said this is part of the teacher professionalization process and it affects both public and private sector practitioners. It is not yet clear how the various teacher unions will react following the strong opposition of a similar directive in June 2018. The NTC directive by Christian Adey Poku, who is the immediate past president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, said, quote, "For the avoidance of doubt, qualified teachers are teachers who have been trained and certified as teachers by accredited colleges and universities that train teachers." It added that all teachers employed after 31st August 2018 are required to pass the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination to merit the license and registration number.
Well, so later on the show, we shall get some clarity from the National Teaching Council on really what the modalities would be. But let's turn attention to some other stories. And this time, the coalition of associations is now demanding a parliamentary establishment into a bipartisan committee to investigate the brutal assault on protesters last week who ventured onto the pleasure lands behind the Bema camp area. In a strongly worded counter statement, the group described the apology by the military as insulting.
Last week, at least 20 indigents of La, including opinion leaders, fetish priests, and some journalists, sustained injuries when Ghana Armed Forces decided to unleash its forces on hundreds protesting over their stolen lands. The coalition backed by the Ghana Adangbe Council against the development of pleasure lands behind Bema camp at Cheado through the Airport Hills area around the military cemetery. Ghana Armed Forces has since apologized. A letter signed by a Director of Public Affairs, Colonel Agrikwashi, said the military high command is gravely disturbed by the unfortunate incident and has since begun immediate investigations. It, however, acknowledged that reasonable force was used in restraining the protesters, since the site for the demonstration houses vital military installation, which, if destroyed, would negatively impact national security. But that has been rejected. Among other things, the coalition of La Association, in a counter statement, described reasons assigned by the military as completely untrue. The group maintained the beating up and manhandling of protesters and journalists by soldiers was premeditated. It said the face-saving effort is rather provocative. We wish to bring to the attention of the general public the fact of the matter as the Ghana Armed Forces, in their attempt to control the damage it has caused itself through the assault method on innocent and unarmed civilians, has peddled so much falsehood. It also said the people of La, under its leadership, has never demonstrated at Bema camp as claimed. The statement, which is demanding bipartisan parliamentary inquiry into the brutal assault, said it's yet to fathom how the use of G3 assault rifles to hit and injure unarmed and innocent civilians could be considered as reasonable by Ghana Armed Forces. The closest vital installation is the armory, which is several hundreds of meters from Plecho. It concluded.
So let's get a quick update on this development, and I'm joined over the phone by Jeffrey Adukwe Tete, who is spokesperson for the coalition of La Associations. Jeff, good morning and many thanks for your time.
Good morning.
So first off, for those who are injured, do we still have persons in the hospital?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers. To the glory of God, everybody who was sent to hospital has been taken care of, they've been treated and discharged. What that we are doing this morning is ensuring that those who have had to return for checkup do so. And so we are going to be at the clinic with them to ensure that they all are taken care of.
Now, last Friday, the La Chief was invited into a meeting. How fruitful was that meeting?
Okay, so our chiefs were called into a meeting by the Minister of Land, and they also had the Land Commission present. The arrangements and the issues raised there, to us, were quite satisfactory. The Land Minister has pledged that within a matter of 2 months, he's going to ensure he also investigates the matters we have talked about. He has also seen the report of the work done by his predecessor, and so he's going to go through it and ensure that the right things are done. In the interim, both parties, that's military and the people of land, have been asked not to go on the land, and that is what we've been calling for, that until the matter is resolved and everybody knows where their jurisdiction falls, nobody should go onto the land. And so we are quite satisfied. The only thing is that we know the military has behaved in this unruly manner, that anytime they've been asked not to go on the land, they use weapons to go there and prevent the other parties, that's like people, from going there. So now we are satisfied, and we are saying that if the military does not go there, we are surely not going there. But once they step foot there and they continue working, we will definitely go back to the land.
So clearly, over the weekend, we drove past the area with the impression that contractors have stopped work. So that's enough from what you are saying.
Yes, for now, we would say that is enough. But the one thing we are asking for is for Parliament to institute a bipartisan probe into this issue, because you cannot have military make out this brutality on innocent, unarmed civilians, and everybody will sit down. We need a probe into this. We don't want the military to investigate anything. We want Parliament to do so.
Thank you so much for talking to us this morning. And Jeffrey Adukwe Tete is spokesperson for the Coalition of La Associations, who are demanding that their lands be returned to them. Well, let's turn attention to some other stories, and this time the public debate on the need to regulate the Ghanaian media space through the passage of the broadcasting bill has been revived. Now, the public interest is now on high following the recent incidents. Two of that. First is the Kasra ritual killing, and two, the Ikwapim Polo jailing for the nude pictures on social media. Now, last week, government made a strong case for the law, assuring the public, especially skeptics, the Nana Akufo-Addo-led government will not exploit it. Citing Article 162 and 163, the AG explained that the rights and freedoms of journalists are well enshrined. Now, at a consultative meeting last week, deliberations on how media-related regulators can act within the current legal framework to contain appropriate media actions. Now, let's hear what Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah has been saying about this development.
Framers of our constitution and our forebears had a special place for media in our democracy and our national life. Over the years, Ghana has worked to deepen these freedoms by, for example, repealing the Criminal Libel Law, and quite recently, enacting a Right to Information Act aimed at providing a freer space for public discourse. A 2020 Afrobarometer report released by the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, suggests that the majority of Ghanaians support media freedoms in Ghana. Therefore, we all have a collective responsibility to ensure that the media continues to operate freely, to ensure that the media freedoms are protected, and more importantly, to ensure that the emerging threats to media practice in Ghana are kept.
Now, let's turn our attention to politics. The NDC can't lose the 2024 elections if it remains adamant. Now, some leading members of the party insist the grassroots base has not been effectively utilized. Now, one of such proponents is a former member of the party's national campaign team, and in the just ended elections, Dan Abudakbi, who was a former vice chairman of the party. The NDC, which is yet to come out of the painful loss of the 2020 election, insists was stalling for Nana Akufo-Addo is gradually warming up for the next general elections. The youth wing of the party has already begun engaging its branches at the various universities, assuring them of hope in spite of the recent internal wranglings arising from decision by the party and their MPs. Last week, the party executive met MPs and the cadres front is also reorganizing its members. One of such fora held over the weekend was addressed by former Vice Chairman Dan Abodakpi, who says while the NDC's chances in the 2024 elections are bright, the party risks losing if it remains adamant. He named weak structures, including the neglect of the grassroots base and the departure from the principles on which the party founding members formed the party.
Our party today is not firmly rooted at the unit of branch level. We have become a huge elephant, not the MPP elephant, a huge elephant standing on clay feet. So, if we want to secure the future, we have to go back to basics.
The concern comes in the wake of suspicion some party members believed to be anti-John Mahama are scheming to undermine efforts at bridging differences. Last week, NDC General Secretary Johnson Asidun Ketia, who spoke to TVXYZ News, said the NDC is also taking stock of the 2020 defeat.
The party itself is going to hold another review meeting and plan activities for the years ahead. There are several activities that will begin from reorganization of the party from branch level, constituency level, regional level to national level. Then after that, you begin presidential primaries and then other preparations that will lead to 2024.
Now, after that engagement, the General Secretary of the party issued a statement. Now, in part of that, it says the retreat was attended by the party's flag bearer, the running mate for the 2020 presidential elections, the Functional Executive Committee representatives from the Council of Elders, Parliamentary Caucus Leadership, all 16 regional chairmen and secretaries, and other leading members of the party. It also says the meeting thoroughly examined the role of the Electoral Commission, the military, and other security agencies in the 2020 elections. And then this part says that a roadmap for the reorganization of the party was adopted and will be announced in the coming weeks upon approval by the national executives of the party. Well, let's turn attention to some other stories. Now, let me take you to the Eastern region because there is heavy police presence at Kuru in Kwatia following fears of a possible clash by chieftaincy factions next Thursday. Now, the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs has issued a strong directive to one disputed chief, Samuel Boamadanso, to vacate the Kuru in Kwatia Palace or face via RAF. Now, the strongly worded letter signed by the registrar, one Raymond Pesu, they may be compelled to apply force regardless of the consequences should the alleged fake chief leave the palace by next Thursday, April 29. And before we go, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin, former President John Mahama, and top NDC officials over the weekend attended the burial and funeral rite of the late Francis Agri Agbuche. Now, the late Francis Agbuche, who is a former MP for Ho West, died barely 2 months ago. Also in attendance was John Mahama's 2020 running mate, Professor Jinan Opoku Ajiman, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, and NDC caucus from the Volta and Uti regions and former appointees. Now, the party was represented by NDC's national chairman Samuel Ofosu Ampofu, Johnson Asidun Ketia, General Secretary, as well as former appointees. The late Francis Agri Agbuche, who died in January this year, was MP for Ho West from 1997 to 2009. He was a former member of the ECOWAS Parliament and was chairman of the Select Committee on Subsidiary Legislation. And that'll be it for this morning's edition on News in Brief on Morning Update. As always, do log on to myxyzonline.com for more. Nana Abena Sewa Ochadi Ebonsu continues with the morning update.
All right, thank you, Wisdom. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take our social segment.
I love makeup. Applying it gives me so much joy. But when it's time to take it off, nothing does the job quite like the Black Secret Makeup Wipes. When I go somewhere and I feel really sweaty, I take my Black Secret wipe and I use it on my face. It picks me up and I don't look as tired as I did when I walked in.
Before I work on a client's face, I like to go over it with Black Secret makeup wipes to make sure the face is clean. It doesn't leave the face dry and tight, but it keeps it soft and moisturized.
Wipe say your bodo.
Bakope, and it gets the job done. Or baby, and the smell makes the experience even better.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
COVID is here. Indeed, a lot of people I've heard still think that it is not real. It is real, and also it is here. It hasn't gone anywhere. So let's try as much as possible to observe the protocols that have been put in place. As we're talking about this, we remember that on the 24th of February this year, we received the first dose. It was administered out to a number of people. So it was prioritized that people on the front line will take it before the others will take as well. We also saw that the female took it. We saw the age take it. We saw some celebrities also take it as well. Now we'll put those figures on the screen, and we'll take a look at those. Now we said we received before that. We will take, yes. So we received these vaccines from other countries. Now we know that the AstraZeneca came in, which had a lot of controversies. People didn't want to take, but eventually when they saw parliamentarians and celebrities take it, they got comfortable. We also got the Sputnik V, which is also from Russia, and it's been attested that about it's 91.6% effective also came into the country. Now we said that on the 24th of February, we saw the what's it called, AstraZeneca come in, which is an initiative of COVAX. So we got 600,000 doses. Now, on the 5th of March, also, we had 50,000 from the Indian government. We also had, on the 11th of March, we had 2,000. Then on the 22nd of March, we had 165,000. And also on the 30th of March, we got 149,850. All these two, the last two coming from MTN Africa. Now, the Sputnik, which is the Russian one, we got on the 3rd of March this year. Also, we got 10,000 component 1 and also 6,000 component 2. But as always, we did also have a certain percentage that went to wastage. That was about just 2%, and it constitutes 580 doses. And out of that, 100 of them was in the north that was went bad, and also the 480 last consignment also expired before the 13th of April, and so this is the number that was wasted and couldn't be given out. But eventually we saw that about the total number that was given out was 966,850 were administered. Now the people who took it earlier or took it were the healthcare workers, mostly those on the front line, and the number that took it so far was 161,506, constituting 27%. Now also those with underlying medical conditions, 160,144, constituting 26.7%. And also females also took some as well. Now they constitute 382,169, constituting 63.8%. Now, the aged, which is 60 years and above, those that took it constitute 138,490, making it 23.1%, taking the first dose that came into the country. Again, please note, because I will mention this again, the first dose that came in was a freebie. As I stated, it was an initiative of COVAX, making Ghana the first African country to receive the dose that came into the country. Now, we were expecting that the second dose will come as we anticipated, because for those who went for the first one, they gave them a card and told them when to come, but eventually we've heard that has been postponed and that they would have to wait 4 more weeks before they take their second dose. I'll be talking to Dr. Anaba to give us certain details and explain to us if we should be worrying at this point in time or not. Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you and good morning to your cherished listeners.
Thank you for talking to us this morning. Now, we want to talk about the announcement by the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Akuma, who is stating that the date that we were waiting for the second dose to arrive in the country has, of course, been postponed, and so we would get it in the next 4 weeks. Should we be worried at this point in time?
Thank you very much. I think there was a program drawn by the government on this vaccination, and I think the evidence that they are now putting across as a justification for postponement of the second dose of the vaccine of the first 800,000 people does not really think well, because that information, scientific evidence, was there before the government drew the program for the vaccine. It shouldn't be that because of new protocols that we are changing the vaccination timeline. Our worry is the people having conflicting information about the coming in of the vaccine, going to vaccinate, with all the hula baloo that we heard about it before people started receiving the vaccine. If we continue giving people mixed information that is not convincing, we will have a lot of people rejecting the virus, and that will be at the peril of this country. So I am not very pleased to hear there is a postponement, though scientifically it's allowed, because evidence has proven that yes, there could be at least 12 weeks in between the first and the second vaccine. But the numbers that are coming in for a vaccine, as planned by government, like by this month, we should have been having around 2 million people getting vaccinated. We are not hearing that. The only vaccines that are coming, as you just told your listeners, is the one that was donated to us by COVAX, the one that we got from the Indian government, and only 2,000 of the vaccines were procured by the Ghana government. Is it the problem of financing? Are we going to rely on people's benevolence to get the vaccine? If we are going to rely on that, then we should remove the timetable, because we don't know when a benevolent person is going to give us the vaccine. So we allow people to just be ready at any time at all to be called to come for the vaccine.
Right.
And that is not good for a country. We're hearing a new consignment will be coming, about 2 million doses, benevolence of another royal family somewhere. I think this country will have so many royal families, including government. What is wrong with our royal family? Can't they come to our aid?
Yeah.
A lot of land money has gone to our chiefs. A lot of gold royalties and mineral royalties have gone to our chiefs. I'm waiting to hear the chiefs of house also donate some vaccines to us to demonstrate how they love their people. See, this is where we see governance really trotting backwards. We need to up our game.
Can we blame our chiefs when indeed it is put out there that everything is under control?
Or we can blame our chiefs, because if they come to announce to us and meet them as opinion leaders and say everything is under control, the National House of Chiefs should ask them what is under control. What have you put in place to tell it is under control? Is it going to beg from another royal king in another country to come and vaccinate that they should be happy of? They should rather be challenging those countries that, okay, we, the National House of Chiefs, we are going to provide this amount for this number of vaccines achieved. Have they forced government to tell them where they are going to get all the vaccines? We all know that this is the plan. But the National House of Chiefs has not pushed the government to tell us Ghanaians where the vaccines are coming from. As I've just mentioned, only 2,000 vials of vaccines have been procured by government. The rest are freebies. How long are we going to depend on freebies to save our nation?
Exactly.
How long are we going to? And our chief should also play a role of bringing leaders. Doesn't mean that they should only take our royalties and go for parties, go for stakeholder meetings with government. They should also contribute like that royal king is contributing to Ghana. But that Saudi royal king belongs to Ghana. Does it benefit from any school land money? Does it benefit from any mineral resource money from Ghana?
With what we are...
The call I'm making, I'm not only blaming government, but also our chief and opinion leaders are sitting and keeping quiet. And we, the masses who serve them, we are the ones who are going to suffer. I am very sad at taking the vaccine already because if it ends up that there is no more vaccine except for we those who have gotten it, it appears to cheat the rest. It appears now that the elites have gotten the vaccine. They are not pushing hard to get the vaccine for the other ordinary people. It appears because the all the chiefs are also taking the vaccine. They are not pushing hard for the president and his team to get the vaccine. Right. If it were to be money for any election, like Ghana would got it. And we are the people who are going to go. So government should work it out to get the vaccine for the people because the promise they made about the vaccine is failing. And we can't depend on freebies to vaccinate people to serve this country.
Right. Now, with what we are seeing, even if the chiefs or any interested parties go to Parliament or go to the Health Ministry to have this discussion on the way forward in order for them to be able to contribute, do you think that the Ghana Health Service have a master plan that they can share for them to even contribute to?
We've seen the master plan already. They gave us the master plan. The number of people they were going to inject every month. And it is failing. What other master plans are they going to have? They have the master plan with assistance of all stakeholders. Coming out to say that let's get this number of vaccines this time, let's vaccinate these people first, these people second, these people third. We've got the master plan. Are they going to change the master plan simply because of acquisition of the vaccine? Is it that they didn't know that they couldn't get the vaccine at this time and they gave us a full program? It shouldn't be so. You should have the master plan when we know that all the steps that we have put in the master plan can be accomplished with all sincerity. But this is the case, we made the master plan and it is stopping and they are giving excuses of not getting the vaccine early to give the second dose and they are postponing it so the next group of people have to wait furthermore and we are depending on freebies. The thing is that the issue is that government is not devoting money to procure the vaccine. They want to go with cap in hand begging for the vaccine, and that shouldn't be the case. I have already condemned African leaders, including our leaders, for sitting down and not coming out with contributions to manufacture a vaccine for Africa. Cuba, 11 million people, have got one of the best vaccines in the world. 11 million people, not even 30. With no natural resource except sugarcane and intellectual. That is all. They'll be able to come out with one of the best vaccines in the world that is stronger than any of the vaccines. Why couldn't we do that? We don't need more than $150 million in Africa to manufacture a vaccine.
Right.
This is how our leaders are saying. They devote money for what is not necessary. What is absolutely not necessary. And people are dying and we are waiting to beg for a vaccine to survive. We should go beyond that. That has been my call to our president and our African leaders. We should go beyond that.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Anaba, for speaking to us this morning. You've been very insightful. Now, yeah, that was Dr. Anaba. that we spoke to on the line. He's from the African Center for Health Policy Research and Analysis, and we're talking about COVID-19 vaccine, the second dose, and when the second dose will be coming in. We've heard from the Director General of the Ghana Health Service that would have to wait 4 more weeks as opposed to the dates that were given earlier on. And we also know that all the vaccines that are coming in are freebies. And so does it mean that we are very broke, that we can't actually afford our own vaccines as well, because we haven't actually vaccinated a quarter of the people in the country? This has been the social segment on the morning update on TVXYZ. My name is Nana Abinasewa. Eric Ayanyo will take over.
If I cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Ehimfa pa na menya bosia, edia tre medwuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre, menye bosia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yema mwakwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodo bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, ekoko abosia, susu account, and it does all savings account. Me bada chain savings account, and the keka ho. Press Suhum Rural Bank was 034229186. Na won so wetu miaka sɛ.
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
Welcome to Auto Check Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many hour crash.
Sure.
Check, auto checks, check, auto checks, check.
Emission, check.
Check, auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Auto checks, check, auto checks.
Brakes, check. Visit Auto Checks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Auto checks.
Auto Checks. Check.
Auto Checks. Your safety, our priority.
Check. Auto checks.
Welcome back. This is a morning update on TVXYZ Wezo TV. This morning, John Kweku Mensah Mawuto, Dean of Students, University of Professional Studies. I think he's in charge of the School of Graduate Studies. He's not joining us this morning, but we'll do so by phone. is very active. But of course, the Monday panel, one of them is already here with me, lawyer Alexander Chum Berima Law. You are welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
How has been the weekend?
Well, I had funeral to handle deal with the course of the weekend. So Saturday and Sunday, I was.
Oh, okay. You sound dull. I don't know whether you didn't have good rest.
No, it will
last
come
night.
up. It's normal.
It will come up. You are sweating. Any watch in already?
I've not even taken breakfast.
Okay. So lawyer will help us do the conversation today. Lots on the table. Lawyer, let me take a little from you because of your background. This Efiapim Polo business, it's gone. The ruling has been given. The discussion is over. But many people were still at a loss whether the judgment, the punishment was too harsh, or there could have been alternatives and so on. And there's another conversation that, look, there's something we call in law, or you know it better, the term where you are given some communal community service to perform and so on, and that could have been considered. Other groups are saying that, look, this lady showed remorse, apologized, and therefore maybe the punishment could have been less harsher. Maybe some 4 minutes, educate us on all sides so that we understand you better.
Which punishments are not harsh?
Oh, come and educate us. You're asking me a question.
Well, I've been hearing that thing from. Okay. I think she was. The judgment came out on Friday, if I'm right.
Yes, Friday.
Yeah. I think I even granted an interview on that. But you see, let us try to understand something. There are several things that comes into play when someone is taken to court on a criminal matter, for that matter. She was taken to court not by a civil proceedings, but on a criminal matter. Okay. Before judgment to be passed, indeed, she did well by,
admitting guilt
immediately or at the very onset. It adds, or it's something that your lawyer who is defending you will factor it in when he's putting out his defense for you.
So the lawyer can advise.
He will not advise, but when he's putting up his defense at the summary point or at the final point of the whole case.
Okay, before ruling.
Okay. There's something that we call plea of mitigation, whereby the lawyer will speak on your behalf in a very passionate manner to convince the judge that, oh, even though you are going to punish the person, but I'm urging that the punishment should be a bit lesser because of A, B, C, D. And some of the factors that he will be listing includes the fact that you have admitted your guilt at a very early stage.
Or apologized earlier and so on.
The apology will also be taken into consideration. Her parental role will be taken into consideration. The fact that she's a first offender. First offender in the sense that this is the first time she has been brought before the law. It doesn't mean that she's the first time she's committing any offense. It could have been that she might have committed certain offenses which never came to the limelight. But the very first time she has come before the law in terms of any kind of crime. So that one to be factored in the plea of mitigation. When the lawyer does all these things, convince the judge that she's a single parent, if I'm right. That's what I've been hearing, that she's a single parent. That reason, a child of about 9 years or so, at least 7 or 9 years.
At least the person is a child.
Years.
I'm not too sure of the age. Yeah.
And that child would need some kind of parental care. And if unfortunately we don't have someone who will be taking care of the child in the absence of the mother, it's going to be a bit difficult, especially if it's going to be for a long time. So the lawyer, if he's coming in with his final arguments or plea, he will put in all these things to convince the court that because of A, B, C, D that I've outlined, the court should consider those things when they are passing judgment. And another point is that it was very obvious she was going to go into incarceration. If you don't need a prophet to tell you this, because the very moment the judge asks for a pregnancy test, you should know that something that you are not expecting is going to come. You don't want to an instance that you are pregnant and then you be jailed and then you get the child rights and whatever rights people coming in to say so many things. So yes, that was another sign or signal to show that she was going to go. On the other hand, also, when you haven't done all these things, and if you look at the judgment, you reckon that the judge and the lawyer did exactly what I was trying to list. And the judge also, in one way or the other, accepted or considered those mitigation factors that would have been outlined by I was not in that court, so I cannot tell whether he will, but I'm very certain that every lawyer will do that for his client. The judge took into consideration all those things, and that led to the 3 months. Because if you look at the 3 charges that was given to her, even the first charge alone takes a maximum of 2 years.
So there was a huge consideration.
Thank you.
Well, what about those
2 years?
What
if
about
you take the other ones, or the other 2 charges to get some kind of imprisonment terms? So if the judge even say that, oh, I'm even going to take 1 year out of the 2.
So because the 90 days with all the 3 offenses or charges, or maybe
it's obvious
concurrently.
It's obvious the judge gave you just 1 month.
There are another group of Ghanaians who also feel that society or the law, in this case the court, may have been a bit harsh because we have other things happening around and nobody's talking about. I had a light debate with a colleague who suggested that, look, we have a lot of things happening to us on a daily basis and we seem to be quiet, and the hypocrisy or hypocritical part of all what we talk about is that the polo lady has had hers, and the same people now saying that yes, it's fair, there must be some form of deterrent to stop people from doing some of these things, are just closing our eyes on other things. She makes reference to children being parents bathing children on the streets, or in this case somebody says if you go to the Galamsey sites, children have right to quality water, and all things are happening there and we are not holding anybody responsible. Is it fair?
You see, when people are trying to do comparative analysis on issues of that nature, you need to know what exactly you are trying to compare. There is a distinction between what has come before the law and what is not before the law. Yes, before the end, so it is when your matter comes up. That's why we talk about it.
Okay, so let's leave it there. Now, Doc, before you joined us, there was another conversation. It's a serious issue about COVID-19. We took our first jabs of vaccine. I remember around February when we took our first consignment from India under the COVAX, WHO-sponsored COVAX package. We got 600,000 doses. Later, MTN gave us on the average about 310,000 doses. Then the Indian government gave us, I think, 50,000. And Ghana government so far has been able to purchase 2,000. Many people are anticipating that by the close of this week, in fact, I was among those who took the first jab. So between by Friday or next week, we're supposed to be taking our second jab.
Did you have any effect?
Yes, slight effect. And I think I'm very confident that it is working for me. But that is on another side. But the real issues are this. Many people were anticipating that we'll take our second dose between now and the close of next week. Now, government says it's going to be extended by 4 more weeks. And the Director General of the Ghana Health Service says even if it goes to 12 weeks, it is still within the acceptable time frame. There's nothing wrong with that. But the concern in there is that since January this year, since January up till now, as we speak, it appears no actual consignment has come in as government of Ghana sponsored, bought with our cash. And perhaps the extension of the period for the second jab is because government doesn't seem to be serious. And that's what Dr. Anaba suggested in his response. I don't know your views on this and whether there must be a concrete effort by the health ministry with a timeline on our effort to vaccinate as many people as possible.
Well, I would say yes to your last point, but one thing that you should also look at is that many countries are relying on the same is it vaccine or whatever. Many countries are relying on it, and by virtue of that, it is important for us to understand that just like the normal economics principles, when the demand is high, sometimes even the prices goes up. But this one, what it simply means that when the demand is very high, I mean the production rate also have to be considered. Whether the company producing those vaccines for us are going at that pace of producing more or not. You understand? So these are some of the things that we need to consider. But if the health experts are saying that, well, they are still within the time frame and that it will not have any kind of effect, then I think we should just keep calm and wait for them. But on the other hand also, as you rightly stated, some of the vaccines were not, I mean, not all were bought by government. Some were given to us, some were bought.
This is what Ghana Health Service released yesterday. I'm sure it will be on the screen.
Okay.
It gives you some data on what we have received so far as a country. So it talks about what came in, and that's it on the screen. 600,000 under the COVAX WHO package, which was on the 24th of April of February 2021, 600,000 doses. And then on the 5th of March 2021, the Indian government gave us 50,000. And the 11th of March, government of Ghana brought in 2,000 of the vaccines. Then on the 22nd March and the 30th of March, MTN Africa gave us a total of about 310,000 and some 50 doses. I'm just trying to do some quick approximation of the two figures, 165 and then 149,850. And so it gives you a total of close to 1 million vaccines so far. We are told over 800,000 of them have received their vaccines. And if you look down there, we have 10,000 on the 3rd of March, which came in as component 1 under Sputnik 5. And then we also have 6,000. As we speak, I'm aware that government has signed an agreement with the United Arab Emirates, and they are supposed to bring in 3.4 million doses. Many people are not too sure whether we are actually working on a well-planned timetable towards the 20 million people government wants to vaccinate within this period. There's another information that I have picked, that the dosage that you pick, like the AstraZeneca vaccine that we took, if you took a particular dosage, it should go with the same production frame, so that it doesn't look like you are taking another total vaccine batch for that. I'm not
from the very first one,
so it must go. So the first batch has to go with the second batch determined by the components of that particular vaccine. We may be ignorant, but these are the schools of thought, and with all what has happened, it gives an indication that government seems not to be prepared, and there's no clear timetable for the rollout of the vaccination plan.
For that, it is wrong. If that is a clear case, it is wrong, because government cannot say that upon all these hassles that we have gone through regarding this COVID thing, he will sit down and then look unconcerned or be unprepared so far as these vaccinations and so on and so forth are concerned. He should have a clear-cut timeline. That is number one. Number two, you need to have a policy line as to what he intends to do, the time frames, and must try to go according to the time. The only time you can, derail from your timeline is where maybe you get production challenges from the producers who are giving it to you, whereby they are unable to, to give it to you at the time frame that you are looking for. Then in that case, you can't do anything about it because it's not being done here. But if it's not that, and it's about the issues of you going to put in your request on time and getting it on time, and you have failed to do that, then you need to be cautioned. Because, as you said, those of you who are able to take it for the first time, I think we are giving a timeline as to when you are supposed to take the second one. I think it was after 4 weeks or so, if I'm right. So if people knew that our time is due for us to take our second dose and we are not getting it, the question is why? But if they are of the view, or the experts are of the view, that the delay will have no effect, then in one way or the other, we may just have to endure and wait.
Okay. Till we all right. What I know is that other countries have some timelines. In the UK, for example, they are working as fast as they can to vaccinate as many people as possible before the holidays set in. And there are other countries which have their own timeline and have set targets. In the US, for example, we knew that they set targets and they were working towards that. In Ghana, we've set a bigger target, 20 million people by a certain date. But it looks as if there's no real plan that is telling us that by the close of next week would have covered 5,000. By the close of the fourth week would have done 10,000.
Like it is in the United Kingdom, whereby over there, I think that in America too, they started with the elderly people first. So in the same way, sometimes it all comes down to how we do our things.
Okay, so now let's move on to other stories. Over the weekend, the NDC held several meetings. I've seen something suggesting that the train moved their train to, I think, Upper East. We understand that the cadres front also held some kind of reorganization meeting in which Dan Agbudapi suggested that the reason why the NDC is not winning elections since 2016 is because it is departing from its core values, probity, accountability, all those things former President Rawlings has been known for speaking about, and the fact that you are not really engaging the grassroots base. Now, the General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, signed a statement which was issued last night, And I want to read excerpts. And this took place at Ho. It says it's a retreat attended by John Mahama, the Council of Elders of the party, the Functional Executive Committee, Council of Elders, Parliamentary Caucus, and all regional chairmen. And it says at the meeting, they thoroughly examined the role of the Electoral Commission, the military, and other security agencies in the 2020 elections. And then it goes again to talk about NDC assessing its performance in the 2020 elections and reorganization of the roadmap towards the next general elections. It concludes by saying that party executives at the branch constituency levels are directed to urgently begin holding regular weekly meetings and activate steps for mobilizing existing new and old members. Now, the narrative by some members of the party suggests that you admit that you lost the 2020 elections and you must blame yourselves, as Dan Agbodakwi says. What's your view on that?
We must blame ourselves they must blame themselves as a party.
Yes, because it's like you are a strong caricature. You have all the power to mobilize members to win an election, but you are entangled in your own problems. So it's like you are stuck in a mud, as it was headlined on one of the portals.
Oh, I think I disagree. Because if you look at the figures of 2016, it's not the same as 2020. That alone should tell you that the NDC did very well in 2016. Sorry, in 2020. They had the same score with Akufo-Addo. It's just the extras. That is just different. They all had 6 million, right? And then I think that the extra figures, that is where there are some slight difference between them. And if you compare it to 2016, the NDC did not get 6 million in 2016. Yes, I admit that there were some challenges when it comes to the election, because some of the regions, for instance, if you take a region like, I think, the Central region, they give us a very clear score in parliamentary. Very good score in parliamentary. But unfortunately, what happened to the presidential? They did not vote as they did in the parliamentary. Okay, so those were some of the challenges, because you know very well that there are some regions that you need to win the presidential to win the general elections. Central region is one of them. Greater Accra is one of them. I think then Bonga half region, which has now been split into a half and whatever, east and so on and so forth. Then the entire three, which was together as one in the before 2016, is also one region that you need to win it. Win the presidential, win the parliamentary. The parliamentary, as you all know, is supposed to boost you in parliament, but the presidential is for the executive. I mean, just to take control of the executive. We didn't see same, but there were some regions that we saw good improvement. For instance, Ashanti region, 2016 elections, the scores or the percentage of NDC is not the same as 2020.
Now, but then Agbodakwi was
I'll come to his point. And one point that we need to understand is that a region like Ashanti region, each time NDC gets anything above 24%, they are likely to win the elections. They are very likely to win the elections. Because one region that is very difficult. But let me tell you, that even where NDC get 27% in Ashanti region, if you look at the actual figures that took them to 27%, it's bigger than the whole region's votes. It's bigger than the whole region's votes.
Now, the question I was trying to drive you to has to do with the personality speaking. So I've heard a number of them. I've seen a publication linked to Guzitando, for example. Then Agbodakwi was a member of the national campaign team. I don't know what he was doing on the ground, but for him to say that the NDC has not been able to win elections, even after your own assessment of the 2016 elections, why you lost, and your promise to resolve those problems, for him to use a public space to suggest that you are not doing well because you are not activating the grassroots structure of the party. What does it mean?
I disagree, because the grassroots were highly activated in these elections. They were highly activated. There were several people who were not even NDC sympathizers. But for once, they felt that we needed to move towards the tangent of the NDC. So it was well activated.
So why will somebody always be suggesting
one
that
thing that we
NDC...
need, you see, what people need to understand is that, Eric, the style of politics in 1992, 1996, 2000 is not the same in 2020, 2021. We have moved far ahead. I'm not against probity and accountability, but ask us a very simple question. Was even corruption part of these elections issues? Did it make any impact? It did it. Because if corruption had made an impact, MPP wouldn't have won this election. Because there were 1,001 corruption issues. Big ones. If you sit here to list them, we will not get up today. But the question is, what impact do those things make? And that links you to the issue of probity and accountability. When corruption is rampant, you need to probe people, make them accountable. We have seen our own Auditor General being hoisted from office. He has been thrown out. He was compelled to resign or to go on retirement. Several people raised issues. At some point, he decided not to fight again. But the point remains that the NDC in 2020 elections, even though could not win clearly, did well. They did well. The figures are clear. The scores are clear that they did well. And it's an improvement. That tells you that in your third attempt, you can break through. Because 2016, NDC was in power. They lost to the opposition. If you look at their performance in 2016, compared to the performance after they have come again in the second battle, you reckon that there was a change. And I've said it here. So that tells you that any other force that they put up again to make sure that people are working. You see, I've said this and I'm going to say it here again. The instance whereby people take portfolios, positions, Eric, just for the purpose of title. I am the so-and-so chairman, I'm the so-and-so organizer, I'm the so-and-so this, but do not work or do not do what is expected of them, should be a thing of the past. One thing that I reckon is that during this election is that many people do not want to bring changes to their style. But you see, when you continue doing the same old thing for a long time, and you don't get the outcome that you are looking for, you need to sometimes change your direction. It's important. But sometimes when you raise these issues to those people, how about an instance that I raise such a thing to somebody? That, no, you cannot be doing this. You need to change what. I said, well, that is how we have been doing it. I said, no. If that is how you have been doing it, have you been able to win the number of votes that you have been looking for? The answer is no. So change the style.
Now, so let's look at it this way. John Mahama goes into an election. The NDC, as a structure, says that we know we won the election and we disagree with the Supreme Court ruling. So as we speak, we know we won the elections, but it was stolen from us. That's the narrative the NDC has put in the public domain. Then you have top NDC members who speak on NDC platforms and are saying that the NDC didn't do well because of their own failures, and they have tried to link what they see as the failures that resulted in the outcomes that we have seen. Now we have one group of NDC people saying it is not true, another group saying it is true. What message are you sending to the party structure, the party base, as to the actual position, and whether indeed some people are being as frank as they should be, or there are some people who have their own agenda and want to suggest that since 2016 the party has never performed better because they are failing to go probity, accountability, grassroots, cadres, and all the terms that they refer to.
That is not true. The party having lost elections is not, or does not relate to the fact that they have decided not, or they have not been going by the core principles that brought to the formation of the party. I don't think so. I don't think so. That is why I've said that. If you take us back to 1992, probity accountability was very necessary. Did you use the same thing in 1996? Did we use the same thing in the year 2000?
Because you were in opposition then.
No, the year 2000 we were not in opposition. We were, but then we lost the elections and went to opposition in 2000.
Okay,
you understand? So the question is, did we use the same principles of probity and accountability in the 2000 election, which led to the coming of President Kufuor in 2001?
Yes,
the answer is yes.
The MPP won that election based on the corruption tag at that time.
No. The question is, did NDC use probity and accountability? Not MPP. It's not the principle of MPP.
They looked at their achievements and sold the story through that at that time.
But the man who was speaking was part of the NDC then.
Dan Agbodapi
was a senior member then. So why didn't they use that probity and accountability around that time? If we say that today they have left it, Was it left in the year 2000? Was it left in the year 1996?
So is it becoming a borrowed term from former President Rawlings, who uses it often, and so people identified as individuals who seem to be associated with him would always want to suggest that there is something wrong, and therefore NDC's campaign structure has changed, and until they go there, they will never go forward?
That is one thing that I don't believe in, factionalism. Because today it is Eric, tomorrow it will be me. So one thing that you should always learn is that you go with the swing along. If it is President Rawlings who is in today to lead the party, let us all flow with him. But if it changes tomorrow, whoever person that comes up, let us in the same way swing to him and hail him. That is what the Ashantis do when it comes to their chieftaincy things. Today it is Otunfo 82. The other time, somewhere before 2000, it was Otunfo Opokuwari. And every Ashanti will be loyal to him. When it changes, the one who comes up, everybody becomes loyal to him. You will not hear people citing grounds of Otunfo Opokuwari as something that should be used today. Because the 32 and his style is not the same as Opokuwari. President Rawlings has done his own. Unfortunately, today he's not even with us. But whatever he did, he's one person that we can never write him off when it comes to the issue of Ghana. He has done a lot, an immense contribution. But after his tenure also, the other people who have taken over from him, they have also done their best. President Mills came to do also another marvelous job. The same thing applies to President Mahama. You understand? But the question is, when President Mills took over, we are still having people who believe that no, we should still be loyal to President Rawlings. No, I disagree. President Rawlings is a leader of the party, was then the chairman of the Council of Elders, among other things. But you should not forget the fact that now there is somebody who is leading the party when it comes to the presidency. So no matter who led you into the game or whatever, you need to create some kind of allegiance or loyalty to the person who is now leading the affairs. Okay. But if you forget that fact and think that, oh, because I am in this line, I'll forever remain in that line, then what it means is that someone can never serve two masters. So what it simply means is that once you decide to remain at one angle, on the other hand, you are refusing to acknowledge the other. Let me never help you to.
Let me do a few text messages, okay, and then we'll move on to other topics. This one from Bukaila Jonas Adia inside Kerry. So the NDC has started another journey of defeat in 2024. Their so-called roadmap to victory is the reverse, because once Mahama, Ofosuampofo, Asedun Ketia, Sami Jemfi remain in power, this is the result they will get. This text message says, Galamsey Braha, it says, I suggest President Akufo-Addo should stay back and let the law enforcers tackle the problem. If not, I would suggest the government must run the Galamsey and hire the guys so that the work will be done for them. It came from Ablade. This one also says, Ghana needs a mother to take care of her people. And the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, has proved to be the right mother and the vision and character to make Ghana work again. This one says, leave Ekwapim Polo alone and let's talk about development. Thank you, GM, for giving Volta region whole airport. Yanum said it was an artistic impression for giving Ashanti region Kumasi Airport, for giving Northern region Tamale Airport. Next is Bolga Airport. Even rehabilitation of Sunyayin Airport, you can't finish it in 5 years. How can you build whole airport in 4 years? Greetings to Kofi Fashion, sent this text message. This one says, so Nanado want to a dialogue on Galamsey fight. What is more evidential than pictorial and video evidence? He has finished prosecuting. Has he finished prosecuting those that Anas put on tape? This one says, good morning, TVXYZ. I'm so grateful that you are alive and kicking. Thanks for Wizard TV, and we are happy that you have brought this platform to discuss issues dispassionately. Now, the last one here says, hello, I am WhatsApp, my name. Please, yes, we should play Hajia Bintu Shatawale. Let's move on.
All right.
There's one important issue that keeps coming every now and then. It has to do with teachers and licensure exams. Over the weekend, the registrar at the National Teaching Council issued a statement. He's saying that all teachers who passed out before June 2018 are supposed to register and get their licenses. I think it should be automatic. If you fail to register and get your license, you cannot perform as a teacher.
Register and get the license automatically, or you go and write the exam and pass?
Register for licenses. That's exactly how the statement came out.
Is it like they are no longer writing the exams?
I'll read the statement in full, but the import here, while I try to pull the statement from my phone, is that all teachers now must have license. It came up some time ago. There was stiff opposition, and now the position has been made clear.
Yeah, because I mean, even though it came to like it was brought up by this very government, right? Mm-hmm. It's not something that has been part of us, but this government brought it up when they took over, and then started urging that teachers must write license exams and get a license to come to teach, and so on and so forth. Many people were of the view that it is not necessary, because even if that is the case, then I think it should be part of the curricula, whereby before they will come out from their training colleges or training institutions, that exam should be written in there. Okay? But not that you graduate from that place and come and write the exam separately. That one I disagree. Mm-hmm. But if you really want to make it part of the system, then what you need to do is that when you get to the final year, the exam, the final exam that you'll be writing will be your license exams. Okay? And not writing an exam to qualify as a teacher and then come and write a license exam rather to get a different license to go and practice or to go and do your teaching job.
Yeah.
So if I know that many people did not support that idea. The one thing about this government is that whenever they decide to do something, it doesn't matter what people will be saying. They will still go ahead to do whatever that they wish they want to do or they wish to do. So I'm not surprised that it has become the order of the day. But as to whether the call for them to register for their licenses is taking off the fact that they're writing the exams, or register, go and write the exam, pass before you come and get your license to come and teach, is also something that I need you to clarify for me so that we can get the proper understanding to that.
So the information is basic. What they are saying is that if you're a teacher, you were trained in Ghana, mm-hmm. or any of the institutions has given you that certificate, you cannot teach if after May 7 you fail to register to secure your license. All those who passed out from the institutions after June 2018 are supposed to write the licensure exams. It was clear.
Okay. So what means that anybody from 2018, 2019, 2020
going forward,
everybody's supposed to write
licensure exams.
Well, it's unfortunate. It's something that I wish it has not been the case, and rather a different thing. But like I said, this is the government that is not what you want them to do, but it's what they wish to do. That is what they do. That is why we are here today. But all the same, I share their sentiments, but I can only say that if you really want to go on, then you might just dance according to their team.
Alexander Chumberima is a legal practitioner. Today he's with me in the studio. We'll be speaking to John Kweku Mensah Mauto shortly after we acknowledge some of our sponsors.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo. Can I join you guys?
Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural, mix, mineral, water.
You still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many Accra.
Sure.
Check, auto checks, check, auto checks, check.
Emission, check.
Check, auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Auto checks.
Brakes, check.
Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Auto checks.
Auto checks. Check.
AutoChecks, your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
Welcome back. This is Morning Update. This is Wiz.TV. This is TVXYZ. Call us later on the program. The number to send your WhatsApp text messages are 0556 999 999. We're talking about teacher and licensing, and I want to read a few of the paragraphs in the statement issued by the National Teachers Teaching Council. The letter was actually signed by Christiana Daipoku, who is the director who sent the letter to the Director General of the Ghana Education Service. It says, for the avoidance of doubt, qualified teachers are teachers who have been trained and certified as teachers by accredited colleges and universities that train teachers. It is to be noted that all teachers who were employed after 31st of August 2018 are required to pass the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination to merit the license and registration number. Thus, their professional license shall be replaced with a full license during the exercise. According to the letter, those who fail to avail themselves for this process shall lose their right to practice as teachers in Ghana in accordance with Section 64(1) of the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020 Act 1023. In 2018, the National Teaching Council suspended this move, and it goes on to talk and talk. Now, when this conversation started, there were two things that came to play. We have the Ghana Education Service, and then we have the National Accreditation Board, which are working together to manage public schools and private schools. If you go to many of the private public schools, many of the teachers are trained and certified. That is actually the condition under which GES will employ you. Otherwise, they may employ you and give you the space to do what they call in-service training, and later give you certification or long distance education. If you come to the private sector, we have a lot of the teachers who are trained, but many of us will agree that some of the teachers, in fact, some argue they are even in the bigger numbers, who are not trained at all and therefore cannot apply for this certificate. So in managing this directive by the National Teaching Council, how should we see the GES, the Accreditation Board, relate to schools in the private sector under this circumstance?
Well, if it's in general terms, then what is going to happen is that indirectly or directly, all teachers, being it in those in the private sector, those in the public sector, everybody will have to go and get registered or go and qualify to get a license to come and teach. That is what I mean. Well, now that they have even made a law on it.
Yes, because it says that after May 7, those who have been given
May 7 this year.
After May 7 this year, in the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks, the teachers who are trained by certified institutions will have to just apply and get their license. Those who don't have any certificate from these institutions in the first place cannot apply, won't have license, and they are quoting the Section 64(1) of the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020 Act 1023. So all those who don't have license after that time will not be recognized as teachers and cannot teach in Ghana. But the fact is, in the next 3 weeks, there are many teachers in the private sector who are not trained teachers and don't have certificates.
Well, let's believe that maybe that this communique might have been given to them way back and not just within this short time frame. It might have been prompted earlier before getting to this very point. If that is the case, then it's fine. As you rightly stated, yes, it's true that most of the private institutions, especially the private basic schools, have several people teaching in there who are not, trained teachers. You can even find secondary school graduates, teaching in some of those schools. But the question again is that, what has been the performance compared to those in the public sector? If you are getting people who are just, degree holders, HND holders, even some to the minimum of, let's say, SHS, who are getting the opportunity to teach in in basic schools, primary and whatever, and then their outcome, the students are doing very well when it comes to the BEC and so on and so forth. Yet those in the public sector who are very well trained by our own institutions, paid with our own money, sponsored with our own money and so on and so forth, enjoying what do you call it, teacher training allowances, among others. Yet they come out, teach our students or our kids, and then the outcome of their exams does not reflect the level of experience or the level of training that was given to their teachers, to them by their teachers.
Are you suggesting that while licensing teachers may equally be important, the National Teaching Council, like other regulatory bodies, should be focusing on how they can ensure that the public schools or the public space, for example, get the necessary tools to improve on education? That's the quality of teaching.
It's very, very important. If I'm going to school and I'm not getting quality teaching or quality education, then it's as useless as staying.
It's not about the license.
No. Quality. Look at the performance of public schools, the basic ones. Have they been doing well? That is where you find most of these worst grades coming from.
Is it not because of so many of them which don't have the teachers to occupy the classrooms, or the environment, or the homes the children come from?
Eric, I'm yet to see how many public schools are not that are not having trained teachers. Yes, in some of the rough areas you may find maybe not some few loopholes. I will not disagree to that, but the point remains that if we should rate them,
is it a misplaced priority in terms of what they are demanding now?
The license,
and for example, no textbooks over the last 2 years and so on. John Kweku Mensah Mauto is on the line.
Okay.
I wanted to speak to him just after the break. Fortunately, we have him now. John, good morning.
Good morning.
You have not been able to join me this morning.
Yes, it's unfortunate that today I couldn't make it to the studio.
Is it the weather? Because I know you wake up early, but last night the weather was cold.
No. It has nothing to do with the weather. I think it's just an emergency that.
Okay. We are so grateful that you are speaking to us because you are a regular panelist on our show on Monday. Several issues on the table. Licensure issues are up again. Teachers have up to May 7 to register and get their licenses. We've spoken about COVID-19 and vaccines. The fact that we may have to wait for another 4 weeks or 12 weeks to get our second jab, even when government is yet to take huge consignments for the exercise to meet the 20 million target that government has set. And then we have just been speaking to other issues about the NDC and its reorganization. Some members are actually suggesting that the NDC is not doing well in elections because it is not sticking to its own ideals, probity, accountability, engaging the cadres, grassroots, and so on. Which of them should we start with you first on?
All right. Thank you, Eric. And good morning to all your viewers, as well as my good friend whom I've missed today. In fact, I think I've monitored the program whilst I was also having my virtual meeting.
Okay.
One of the issues I really want to put across has to do with the issue of capping below. I think the lawyers have come out to express series of their opinion on the sentence. And most lawyers will tell you that the judge has been very, very lenient on the young lady. A crime is a crime. Yes, indeed, some of us who are of the view that our sentences should be a little bit too much of custodial. We should be thinking about introducing what the developed countries have done. Community service. We have several youth, we have several, active labor out there, locked down in rooms, doing nothing. Some of these offenses, assuming a captain polo was sentenced to maybe 6 months community service to be cleaning the streets of Makola, 4 hours a day. I think that would be more productive to our country than just locking her up and then restricting her movement. We should look at that. My people should be, they are the lawyers, should be looking at how to vary our sentences to include some of these community sentences, which to that extent will help. You have a medical doctor being locked up for a misdemeanor or some of these criminal charges. This medical doctor shall be subjected to probably some other community services, which probably will benefit, will get the benefits of a particular community. All right. Then I was also listening to the issue. I've been following the issue of COVID-19 vaccines. Unfortunately for me, even though I fall within the categorization of a frontline service provider, it's unfortunate when it got to my university, I couldn't take the job because I was advised by my medical director not to do that because I was undertaking some treatment on a different illness.
Okay.
For me, I'm not surprised. In March, my brother, there was this COVID-19 vaccine politics in Europe, which we did not give cognizance to. There is this rift between EU and Britain, UK. If you are following it.
Yes, I am following that as well.
Thank you. The vaccine, the vaccine produced in Brussels, EU was contemplating on placing a ban on the vaccine to other countries, especially UK, because they were of the view that UK was getting more than what even countries in EU were getting.
Bigger countries in the EU.
That is it. And once you have these powerhouses fighting, then those of us who are just the benefits of the beneficiaries of the remnant, we were bound to suffer. You see, the acquisition of COVID-19 is not like going to the market to go and buy cake. We have people, we have countries with money, but they don't have access to the vaccine. So it tells you the politics behind the acquisition of the vaccine. Now, Africa, that is where we need that wake-up call, that the continent must be serious with medication of its people. We don't have to always sit back and expect the Western world to always produce for our consumption. We've been consumers all this while. So this is a wake-up call. That is several wake-up calls. We are not waking up. We are not sleeping. Our leaders are sleeping. We don't believe in investing in research and development. We don't commit so much resources to research and development. That has been the pain of African development. So I wasn't surprised at all that yes, indeed, even if you look at the structure itself, it tells you that the government has, would have had money to buy whatever they want to buy, but the vaccine is being prorated among nations. We are fortunate to have one of the first consignments, but it's unfortunate we are where we are today. But it is expected that vaccine politics will be with us for the next 1 year. Until then, I think we only have to wait till we get another opportunity to get these vaccines. Okay. Then, if I'm permitted to move on to the next probably after my submission, if you have any questions, they ask me. That has to do with my field now. I mean, the educational sector, the teacher, licensure, and then politics that we have in this country, especially when it comes to our teaching profession. For me, I don't have any issue with licensing teachers. The teaching profession is a professional, career that one is supposed to acknowledge by now. We've been doing things haphazardly in this country for too long. Now, when you ask me, I'm not a friend of examination. To be frank with you, I've been telling my examination over the years it's a process which only stimulates you to learn. It's just an insignificant, degree of stimulation. But at the level where people are supposed to understand what they do, that is why after you have qualified, you have become a professional. We have what we call a continuous professional development, which will require no examination. But the professional is being exposed to a new processes which will make him or her as a professional. So what I expected this licensing, directorate to be doing is to organize continuous professional development courses for these teachers. And
John, let me come in.
Yeah.
Let me come in briefly. You and I know that over the past 20-30 years, these continuous professional training programs have been organized for various subject groups under the GES. They call it in-service training. It's been going on. And so this suggestion may not be new to them.
No, it has not been done on a whole scale. I mean, now it has been repackaged into a comprehensive program. It now becomes mandatory. Do you know, I'm a professional accountant. Every year, before you can renew your membership, you have to show evidence of a certain number of continuous professional development programs you have attended, else you will not be registered. That is what we are talking about here. As if the teaching skill, the profession, transfers to the normal talk or way forward, we are talking about engaging your people and empowering the people to also express their opinion in the teaching. I mean, flipping the classroom. A lot of new skills have been introduced. These are the things that we need, and I am of the view that you see the mandatory, nature of the way the authorities are trying to introduce is very good, but we should rather not.
John, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The line is breaking, but reposition yourself in your room to get the signal a bit stronger, because I know lawyer may have a slight disagreement or may have an issue to pick out from the contribution you have made so far. So, lawyer, just come in with a brief comment so that he can continue his submission.
Well, I think I agree with him on the issue of continuous education, because even in the legal profession we have that. We call it CLE, continuous legal education. Yeah, so it's done everywhere. So if it becomes part and parcel of the profession as well, I think it is in line. So he's right.
Okay, so I think the support is clear. You can move on to the concluding part of the submission, Doc.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you better now.
So my submission is so simple. We should not make it too much of examination, but a program that will be tailored towards developing the teachers, in apprising themselves with new methodologies of teaching. That's the most important thing. We are going to be just regulatory, whether the people have the license to practice as teachers. In the 21st century of teaching and education, all of those things are not mandatory. And I'm also so happy when lawyers try to do a comparison between non-teaching professionals to teaching professionals, their output is the most important benchmark. When you use the professionally trained teachers, what impact do they have on the people? What else? And we have some schools in this country who use even SHS graduates. Go to their classroom and speak to the students. And you could easily reduce the fact that the students can speak good English. What about those who have been trained? What skills do they use? What technology do they deploy? These are the questions we should be asking. Now, Eric, now my point of interest, the NDC reorganization drive. I think I've been following. I think I read some of the comments by the cadres as well as one of the leading members of NDC. I've forgotten the name. You mentioned the name some few minutes ago. Abu Dhabi. You see, Eric, I was so happy that lawyers try to draw the distinction, the line of distinction between politics in the year 1990, in the early 90s, to the 21st century. I'm talking about the year 2021. Politics in those days is not the same politics we have today, because today the average Ghanaian is so enlightened on the economy. So after 2016, what was NDC telling the average Ghanaian? That in the financial sector of the economy, what did you do? The agricultural sector, what did you do? The service sector, what did you do? Now, political consciousness, the political ideologies are not working as much as the economic ideologies of political parties. This is what they must know, that the average Ghanaian is thinking about the money, the disposable income in his pocket. When he wakes up in the morning, what are politicians doing to ensure that his disposable income is enhanced? That is what people should be thinking about now. So let's look at the track record of the NDC as to what they are repackaging. In 2016, you were in power, and Ghanaians voted and said, look, we think we need a change. So go and sit somewhere and let us get a new person. In 2016, why did they say that? There were a series of issues I wish the NDC party should be looking at in their quest to restructure their party. The economy was having series of issues which we all spoke against. You have an economy where the average Ghanaian was borrowing at a minimum of 30% interest rates. Most Ghanaians are in the private sector, and when you stifle them of expansion, they will resist you. They won't resist you. Now, you had an economy where continuously the fuel prices were increased. Okay, and we all know that once you increase the fuel prices, the adverse effect will trickle down to the average Ghanaian, wherever the person finds it's him or herself. They will strike against you. We were at a stage where the average Ghanaian was crying loud. People were displaying some level of arrogance in 2016. So they punished them. These are the things they should be looking at. And I always say, look, even today,
but Doc, we have gone past
the current government, the last levy they introduced. I came and sat in the studio and made this statement. Look, you introduce levy in the midst of the crisis. What it means is that those levies are so direct to the livelihood of every Ghanaian. We spoke about it. I hope they listen. Some of these things emerges. Political parties should be knowing that, look, you can take the people for granted. When they give you the opportunity to enhance their livelihood, and you continue using the old system, you will also use the power they have to show them
you out. Yeah. All right, Doc, I think we've taken much of your time. We want you back in the lecture theater, and thanks for the insight this morning.
Okay, thank you. once again, my greetings to my very good friend, Barrister.
He's listening to you anywhere to Doc.
Thank you, Doc. Good morning, too.
Good morning.
All right. Yeah. Now, Doc raises another interesting leg to the conversation we just walked away from, i.e., the NDC says that look, the average Ghanaian voter is looking at track record. And so that track record is about the space you had and what you were able to do. So it makes reference to the NDC, and at the time it was being booted out, the reasons why Ghanaians suggested that John Mahama and his team didn't do well to their satisfaction. The NDC has witnessed the Nana Akufo-Addo administration from 2016 to 2020.
Yeah.
Nana Akufo-Addo is back in power. And so in 2024, the narrative will now be NPP has done 8 years under Akufo-Addo, and perhaps they are going to compare it to NDC from 2008 to 2016. Will that narrative in the political space, when they are designing their campaign strategies, still be dependent on what the Agudakis, the Guzitandos, and so on think?
You see, that is what I told you, Eric. The era of probity and accountability was necessary at some point in time. Today,
it is not.
Okay. It is not.
All right. So
the ordinary Ghanaian wants to know what you have done for me when it comes to education. Just walk on the street.
So people will be comparing on sector by sector basis. So they look at health.
The problem of Ghanaians is fuel, high price of fuel, and let's say do so now. What does the person care about probity and accountability?
What about you go to the health sector, you go to the agri sector, you go to the energy sector, you go to the so-called transport, you want to look at roads and highways, then people can really compare records.
That's it. So they want to see how many roads were constructed. Did John Dramani Mahama's government construct some roads for us as a country? The answer is yes. Where were they? Then you have to show them. Did the Akufo-Addo's government also give us roads? If the answer is yes, show us. They want to see those evidence. That is why you can hear people saying, because if you ask that person who is saying that, he has the fact to tell you that, oh, I've not seen him doing this. I've not seen him doing that. Okay? And then that they will take it by your own words. Some of the things that you said, maybe during your campaign.
So is it what has happened for those who continuously use these terms, or they are just not being realistic with what we are facing?
That is what I said earlier on, that you see, we need to move from where we were and get to where we are now.
Okay, now let's look at I'm looking at two items. One came with the statement issued by the Ministry of Communications that Ghana is soon going to take over Airtel Tigo.
Yeah, I think I saw that during the week.
And there's an editorial on page 4 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. I'll compare that to another publication done by the Herald newspaper, which is raising all kinds of suspicion. Now, this editorial by the Ghanaian Times, I want to spend some 2 minutes to read a few paragraphs. It says, after independence, the country was bustling with state-owned companies and industries creating employment for the youth and producing most of the things the country needs locally. For the information of the National Divestiture Implementation Committee, most of the country's strategic assets were sold to private individuals and foreign investors. So it made reference to poor governance, management practices, pilfering, lack of investment, reinjection of capital, and so on and so forth. And we saw many of these state institutions go. So it is giving government thumbs up for the bold decision to go back and take over Airtel Tigo. Now, the Herald newspaper is also suggesting that, and the headline says, Akufo-Addo's family and friends scheming to buy Airtel Tigo cheaply. And it makes reference to October 2020, the Minister for Communications and her utterances, and goes ahead to say, and I want to quote, Airtel Tigo government used to have shares in it. As recently as 2 years ago, Airtel Tigo told us that government had failed to pay its part of money, and that were needed to capital expansions. I'm struggling with the how the paragraph was captured. So now the government is taking over the whole asset. It is going to be interesting for us to see how we can hold government to account on the requisite level of investment that is needed to keep Airtel Tigo active and very competitive. My interest in this is the reference he made that 2 years ago, Airtel Tigo was complaining that Ghana was not adding up to match its shares in the company. And so it was complaining. 2 years down the line, we are taking over the whole entity. And so the question is Ghana ready to operate a telecom company just as Ghana was operating, let's say, Vodafone some years ago? That is the suspicion that we may want to take over and eventually end up by saying Ghana cannot handle, let's look for new investors.
Well, the answer could be yes and no. The yes could be that yes, we are ready today to handle such things, and because in the past we could not, and we've been able to reckon our challenges and our failures, and for that reason we've learned how to go forward better when it comes to these things. So maybe this time we are going to manage it well for it to be very attractive. Because, well, Eric, to be honest with you, it's very unfortunate that a country like us, we don't even own our own airline, we don't have our own telecommunication. There are several things that are not national. Go to England, we have the National Express, buses upon buses. We move from one city to the other.
We have MMT. Okay, you move on. We have STC, Intercity.
Okay. This morning, I think my spirit is working well, so
you won't fight back.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Okay, so you go ahead.
So you just let's move. So yes, it's unfortunate that we have been, having this kind of challenge. If you take our mind back to when it wasn't Vodafone, it was Ghana Telecom, right?
Ghana
Telecom then, when it was sold. And the kind of things, the hula balloons, the stories that we heard about it, what went on in Parliament, some bribes that were paid, that were told by some MPs and so on and so forth, those who collect, those who did not collect the amount and so on. I mean, there are several things around it. At the end of the day, the question is, where have we gotten to when it comes to Vodafone? It has been taken over by a private entity. Are we doing better than it was earlier? Or it is still the same, or it's even worse? These are questions for those who took over to answer. But now, when it comes to a point that Ghana wants to take over a two-network system, I think Airtel is different, Tigo is different, but they've merged. It's good. But the point is that government should be ready to provide the needed resources and facilities to be able to operate it efficiently. It should not be an instance whereby you take over and then people will be having challenges with the network. Because I don't use that network anyway, but I know people who use it and they keep complaining about some challenge that they face when it comes to that particular network. So if government is taking over, it is good, but the needed resources, the needed facilities and everything should be available. Don't just put people there to go and manage it. Put people who are technically competent, who can handle the affairs of that institution, make sure that they can deliver whatever outcome or goal that you set for them. Don't just place people that you think, oh, this one is my friend, you just go and put the person there, and at the end of the day he will perform woefully or abysmally.
Now, if you look at the data that is periodically provided by the telecoms chamber about the capacity of the various telcos, you realize that MTN, for example, is raking in billions, perhaps on daily basis or on a weekly basis, and so it's a gold mine. That space is a gold mine. Vodafone is following. Airtel Tigo may be the third or so, and they are not doing badly. But the preamble of this editorial talks about lack of investment, poor managerial systems in place, and all the things that we know that led to the collapse, or the divestiture implementation committee decided that let us sell them off. If Ghana is going back, what should be the posture, which you have addressed partly, but how can we prevent it from being taken over as a country? We go with all the fanfare and then turn around tomorrow to say we are looking for strategic investors, because that's what we've done. Even VRA, you remember 2 years ago there was an attempt to privatize VRA, but for the agitation among staff would have gone there.
I mean, if you want to bring somebody in to come and support you to run it, because now you are taking over 100%. If at some point you want somebody with very good technical know-how to come and support you to run it, I don't see anything wrong with it. But my point is that don't just let it be something that it will just come in a flash. Manage it well. We have seen Ghana Telecom, this MTN thing that you were citing. The reason why MTN has taken over the whole space is because of how they came in. Those days, Ghana Telecom, if you want SIM card, I don't know whether you went for a SIM card.
I bought my SIM card. Those days we called it 900,000 cedis.
You didn't apply?
I applied. I moved from Takrady to Aflawo to buy it, because the regional telecom manager at that time told me that the next batch of chips or SIM cards they were going to sell would be at Aflao. So I got the wind and I traveled there and waited.
From where?
From Takrady.
To get the SIM card?
Yes.
To what?
And I bought it. And
that
now
tells you
it's one CD or virtually free.
Thank you.
Right.
That is the challenge. We are the cause of our own problems. If Ghana Telecom had that time made it simple, less problematic to get a SIM card, they would have taken that space MTN is occupying today.
But if the narrative,
but they failed to do that.
If the narrative yesterday under the Kufuor's government, same MPP at that time was that we need to let Ghana Telecom go because the space was becoming more competitive. At that time, we knew the telcos which were coming in, and therefore we needed the British to come in to take over Ghana Telecom in the name of Vodafone, so that it will be more competitive and give us improved services. And then some years down the line, we are proudly going for Airtel Tigo when we may not be in the position to put in that capital injection. Well, is it not a reason for, let's say, Herald to come with this publication that it is a conduit to use other names in the form of investment to take over this space?
I wouldn't be too much surprised if it comes up tomorrow. But as it stands now, what we know is that government want to take over. They have not declared any other contrary intention. So let's wait until we get there.
Okay, so that's it for the conversation on this particular issue. Now, before we go, there is one present thing that we need to look at. That's accident on our roads. This conversation has traveled beyond bad roads to bad behavior. But there's another aspect of road management that we always gloss over. And this has to do with stretches that have seen unusual traffic that builds up on daily basis. And before we started this program, I made reference to the Pram Pram stretch. And we know what happens on the Michelle Camp stretch. And of course, the Nsawam Road, especially around Nsawam Nkoko stretch, on Friday evenings, I think every day between 7 and 9 p.m., you travel to Kumasi very often, and you know the traffic on that stretch. Buduburam, those of us who move to the central region. So it's like, if you live in Accra, you are choked. You can't go out. Any day you want to go outside Accra, you may have to move at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. if you don't want traffic. And we have lived with this for years. What really is our problem, to the extent that we know where the problems are, but we don't care about fixing them, and we move on?
You see, Eric, the biggest challenge has been failure of government to honor their promise. You are mentioning roads, and it's all mounted to road designs. Under what circumstance will a country like Ghana today be having a single lane road to connect two cities? Does it make sense? Single lane connecting two cities?
We don't have money.
Go and check your 2018-2019 budgets. You will see the promise that the government made to you. He promised to dualize the road from Accra to Takrady. What is it?
I know that
he promised to dualize Accra to Kumasi. What is it? He promised to give us a railway line from Nsawam to Koforidua. I don't know which farmland that railway line is passing through. If you get to know, just let us know. The disappointment is becoming too much. Today, 2021, Ghana is still having a single lane connecting Accra to the western region, all the way to Cote d'Ivoire. Single lane. Are we serious?
But if there's no money, why would you cry?
Budget is made with some kind of vision. You know, I'm going to get this bottle or this water from X natural mineral water, and that is why I promised to give you water, because this water is going to come. Why did you promise us you are going to realize the road when you know you don't have the needed resources? It's because you knew you were going to have money. You had planned for it. That is why it is in your budget.
And the money didn't come.
From where?
For example, we know that government said they were going to get 15 billion from China. Baumia even said, Dr. Baumia, the vice president, even said the money is almost close to hit our account.
Do you know the number of Ghanaians?
So if the money didn't come.
Do you know the number of Ghanaians who don't believe the vice president? Do your own research and come out. You see. the number of Ghanaians who don't believe him.
The MPP doesn't think so.
Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder.
Okay, so, but on a serious note, I'm not suggesting that the submission you have made is not serious. I'm just looking at the latter part where you talked about beauty lying in the eyes of the beholder.
I said that because he said the MPP does not see him as that. That's why that is why
Now let's look at Pram Pram, for example. This is an enclave which has some of the best tourism sites, especially for relaxation, for revelers, for investors who want to move towards that enclave. And if you go to Pram Pram Junction, that stretch towards the Central University College, you know the traffic on that stretch.
It's been a long time I use that road.
And then if you look at even the stretch between where we have the barrier, you have some free space, and then as you move towards Pram Pram Junction, there's always traffic on that stretch.
Do you know why? Because from the motorway runabout towards that barrier, it's a dual carriage lane. But from there towards wherever you are talking about, it's a single lane. So if two cars were coming from one stretch and then they go to one point and become single, what do you expect?
If you were the president, what would you do on that stretch?
In simple terms, just dualize our roads.
There's no money. What would you do?
He hasn't said so. If government was able to get money and give 4 million Ghana cedis to government communication team, who we don't know what they are doing, use that money to build our road for us. Do you know how much money was given to government, Office of Government Machineries, in terms of their salaries? It was increased over 600 million compared to the figure of 2020. It was increased over 600 million Ghana cedis just for salaries. Do you know how much they are using for goods and services alone in this budget? If you can get money for those things, you can't get money to fix our own roads. Is that what you are saying? Let's be serious for once. We can't be having that road that we are talking about is the road that links you to Togo. We have mentioned the one that will link you to Cote d'Ivoire. The Kumasi one is linking you to Burkina Faso, Mali, and those things. And we are still having a single lane from Accra to Kumasi. Single lane from Accra to Paga. Eric, in 2021, when are we going to see these things being done? You promised us in your budget. This one is also even a common manifesto promise. Whereby you can say that that one they did not even see that whether there was going to be money for that or not. This one you are in government, so you know your resources, you know what you have and what you don't have, and you promise in your own budget that you are going to dualize those roads. Why haven't you done it? Have you given any reasons? You promised to give an interchange in Koforodi. At some point, it became a sham. Similar ones were given for Kumasi, for Chrome, so I'm on about. Do you know how many tracks?
In your opinion, it is something government should be able to tackle, if not all.
He must do it. He must do it.
But previous government didn't do all.
The previous government didn't do all, but at least they gave you something. This road of Winiba Budumbram that you were mentioning, I think it was done by under the President Kufuor era.
Yeah,
from that time coming. And then Mahamat came to do this, the Kaswa one, taking you to
the interchange all the way to other enclaves in the area.
Yeah. Somebody have done something. Where is yours? You have mentioned two different governments. Yeah, records are there, loud and clear. He's speaking. Where is yours?
Nitaki Welbeck sent this. He says, "Good morning, bro. I hope you are fine. It's unfortunate such leading members continuously choose to derail the efforts of the NDC. Their timing with the party's communique is a clear manifestation of bad faith, but God's will shall prevail. Change is the only constant in life. So embrace change or die." Then on the teacher licensing exam, he says, teachers licensing is part of their grand agenda of state capture. They want to ensure only those prepared to push their resolve to use education as a tool to brainwash citizens are employed. Now, I want to read it again. I was struggling. It says, teacher licensing is part of their grand agenda of state capture. They want to ensure that only those prepared to push their resolve to use education as a tool to brainwash citizens are employed. So he's raising concerns about possible manipulation where people apply for the licensing licenses, and every year, if it is supposed to be renewed, you may be denied the renewal because it is a conduit to use to sideline people.
Well,
is this an overstretched suspicion?
It depends on what they will be looking for to renew your license for you. If it is subject to renewal, there may be other things that they will
because Doc said it cannot be automatic. Ideally, the best practice is that you demonstrate why you are still active and doing research, and for that reason, the license must be approved.
Well, maybe in the profession that's what they want, but that's not so in the legal profession. You don't need to be. All that you need is what I noted, that you continuously.
You remember that before we go, just briefly. You remember that people applied for the licenses. They wrote exam, and when the results came, as many as 30% or so, almost about 50% failed just recently. Is this not similar to the suspicion that is raised?
Well, indirectly, they are telling us that even those who want to teach us, some of them too are not competent.
Alexander Chumberima is a legal practitioner. Today he was with me in the studio. We've had it light and hot on issues that we have discussed. John Kweku Mensah Mauto is the Dean of Students at the School of Graduate Studies at the University of Professional Studies. He also joined us on the show, gave us some exciting points.
Just a quick point. Government should do a very simple task. They should ask themselves one question and use that question to do a survey. Why are people holding just ordinary, I mean, not necessarily ordinary, but programs that does not lead them to teaching? But they find themselves in the teaching field, teaching in private schools. But students from there are doing far better than those who have been very well groomed and trained to come and teach students. Why?
We leave the question to the public and government.
You can answer that one.
I may be able to attempt an answer.
Attempt, and then the public will
in education, there's something we call learning from known to unknown. There's something we call readiness.
Okay.
And so if you have children coming from, and I'm using two settings, a typical well-endowed community, Trasaco or East Legon, wherever, where children, because of the upbringing, they have good homes, they have access to all the learning materials and so on. The child is ready, is prepared. So that child who is put in a certain private school with a little support is able to grasp early. Now you have another set of children coming from very poor communities where the medium of exchange, English. So most textbooks are in English. Most of the terminologies are in English. You have a teacher, you can use all the teaching methodologies. If these children are not ready because even the language you are using to teach them is something strange to them, they grasp slowly. So in teaching, there was a debate over whether we use the L1 or L2 to teach children at the basic level. That is, the L1 being the language acquired. So I'm an Ewe. So it's assumed that I speak Ewe to my children in the house. And so when you are teaching them at the basic level in the school, use that language to teach them to understand and migrate to the acquired language, which will be the L2, English, French, whatever. And so it's been several theories that have been put out there. But I strongly believe that if children congregate and all of them come from homes which have given them access to these materials, it becomes easy for anybody to carry on from there. But where you have a pool of children where some of them really come from backgrounds, they may either derail those who are learning fast, or those learning fast will leave them behind, depending on the teacher.
Let me strongly disagree with you by giving you my own experience.
Right.
I lived with my grandparents from the age of 3. Okay. From my crèche, so when I completed GSS, I was always walking to school. Always walking to school. Every single day.
Typical Ijaba.
Okay. Secondly,
1 minute.
The only thing that I had was that even though my grandparents were not educated, never went to school, but they were the one bringing me up, they took me to a private school. So from my crèche to my JSS or whatever that I completed in the 90s, I had a private school education that made me who I am today.
The debate will continue tomorrow. I'll definitely bring it up, and I'll be speaking to some teachers to share with us what platform is best, whether indeed those who are not trained are doing better, or it's the environment which is giving them the space. I disagree that professionally trained teachers cannot do better than those who are not trained. But it's a school of thought. The example is that private schools are doing better. That's how I end the show. Nana Abena Sewa couldn't join us, but I'm sure you enjoyed her. And all the producers put together from Ways to TVXYZ, we thank you for the support. Bye for now.